What happens when evidence destroys a false claim? I was the top salesperson at a location that had been underperforming for years. I was far ahead of everyone else, reaching around 170% of my yearly target and getting close to a major company award. I had real sales experience, while most of my team was still learning, and our sales manager was not able to guide or train us properly. There were 5 of us on the team, and although we got along with her as a person, we all struggled with how she managed the team. When it was time for yearly performance reviews, the vice president came to our office. I was called in first. I expected a strong and positive review, but things quickly took a very different turn. Right at the beginning, my sales manager said that our location had not been meeting its targets for years, and that they believed some salespeople were not being honest about their daily work. Then she looked directly at me and said she did not believe I was actually doing everything I recorded in the system, and that this could even put my job at risk. I was shocked by the accusation. I asked her if she was serious, and she said yes without hesitation. I stayed calm and told her to pick any day from my records so I could prove that I had done exactly what I reported. At first, she tried to avoid it, but I insisted. Finally, she chose a date. I explained to the VP that my phone tracks my location through Google services, and since I always carried it, I could show exactly where I had been. I pulled up the data for that day and compared it with my work records. Every meeting, visit, and stop matched perfectly. There was no difference between what I had recorded and where I had actually been. The mood in the room changed immediately. I then invited her to pick another day, but she refused. So I turned to the VP and asked him to choose one instead. He did, and once again, everything matched. At that point, it was clear that I had been completely honest. Then I decided to bring up something more serious. I reminded the VP about a large client we had recently lost, worth over $1 million. He said he remembered and believed we lost the deal because of pricing. I told him that was not the real reason. I showed him an email from the client explaining that they chose another company because we failed to provide the samples they had requested. I then forwarded several email conversations where I had asked my manager to order those samples. In those messages, she had clearly confirmed that she would take care of it. However, I had already checked with our service department and no order had ever been placed. The VP asked me to send him all the emails, and I did right away. By this point, the entire situation had shifted. What started as my performance review had turned into a review of her actions. The room became very tense, and it was clear that things were not going well for her. I then said I had one more thing to show and stepped out of the room for a moment. In the office, there was another sales consultant named Joe. He was married with children and had been dealing with a serious issue. The manager had been sending him inappropriate messages and inviting him to meet privately, even after he made it clear he was not interested. We had talked before about whether he should report it, and now felt like the right time. I told Joe it was time, and he agreed. We walked back to the conference room together, along with the location manager who joined us after noticing something unusual was happening. Inside the room, I asked the VP to confirm a company policy. I asked if a manager trying to start a relationship with someone who reports to them would lead to immediate termination. The VP sat up straight and confirmed that it would. I then said that Joe had something to share. At that moment, the manager stood up and walked out of the room. Joe calmly explained everything and showed the messages he had received. The VP asked him to send copies, which he agreed to do. After that, we were asked to leave so they could discuss the situation privately. We returned to the sales office and waited. Not long after, it became clear that the manager had left for the day. About 20 minutes later, the VP came back and asked me to return to the conference room. He told me that the manager had been dismissed immediately. He also said that after reviewing my performance, I would receive excellent feedback, as I was clearly the top performer at that location. I thanked him and then asked how I could apply for the now open sales manager position. He laughed and said I moved quickly, but told me I could apply through the proper process. In the end, I did not get the promotion. I decided to leave the company not long after. Still, that performance review was one of the most intense and unforgettable moments of my career.